We're back. It's the Jim Burns Dave podcast, and we're back from the dead, or as it's known to most people, Christmas and the New Year, which was okay for me. I sat around. I played some video games. I didn't get to watch Crank this year. Usually my Christmas routine on Christmas Day is once I've got rid of the family, not in the Jack Torrance sense, just in the, they go out and see other family and have fun.
And you don't go with them?
No. I sit with the dog and we watch Crank. The greatest American movie of the last 25 or maybe even 50 years. So anyway, listen, I'm Steve Burns, obviously, and probably illegally. And you over there, with a Star Wars t-shirt on, you twat, are Sir James Strinker.
Yes, I am,
Yeah? So how was your Christmas?
My Christmas was alright. Went up to see the children. Spent 2 weeks in Hartlepool.
You mean video game people?
What, sorry?
The children.
Children. I mean my actual children.
Oh, right. Okay.
Not
Pat Bren.
Not Pat Bren. Not Chris Pratt. Not Patrick Dane. I mean my actual biological children.
Oh, right. The ones legally you're responsible for.
Yes, exactly. In Hartlepool, where my mum lives. So this was a bit of a Brexit Christmas. It was quite interesting. But no, I had a lot of fun. I spent 2 days playing Dragon Age, and then the kids arrived in the house, and I didn't get to play anything else because my PlayStation was commandeered for Minecraft.
Of course it was.
For the 2 weeks.
Yeah, of course it was.
And
listen, shut the fuck up about
I
that.
did see that they built detention.
What, sorry?
In one of your tweets. Built a classroom for detention, didn't they?
Oh yeah. They built a school in Minecraft, and they had there was a detention room, and it's not really how schools work. They don't tend to have detention rooms solely for detention. And Evie was like, "Well, my school does."
In this new
Where have you sent her?
Listen, Dave Mills, what have you been up to then?
Back to the promised land.
Yeah?
Yeah. And saw a bunch of friends. Sunny St Helens, mate.
Fuck's sake.
It's glorious.
Yeah, it's shy. How was it for you?
It was good, yeah. Family, friends, sat around, played some PlayStation, drank some beers, ate a lot of chocolate.
Yeah,
we went through so much fucking Quality Street. It was actually abysmal.
I managed to put on a bit of weight, and that is literally because I got off the pizza diet. So in the run-up to Christmas, we've been very busy with certain other things that, the things that we do, people pay us for. And there's a lot going on there. I need to get a lot sorted. And I was on one pizza a day. Fine. I looked amazing. I looked lean.
Never leave the pizza diet.
I looked fucking lean, mate. It was great. My girlfriend was like, what has happened here? How has this happened? I was like, I don't know, but I look fucking amazing. Now, I'm eating like a real person. I'm fat. Don't do
Those
it.
vegetables, mate. That's what gets you.
Oh, I love broccoli, though.
I do like you're the only person on the planet who can just eat a pizza a day and look good. But the rest of us do that, and we just like.
But it's secret fat guy stuff, isn't it? Like, while the stress was happening with a lot of, getting stuff ready for Christmas and all of that.
Yeah.
That's when you lose weight. But I'm 6'3" and a bit. So I'm like a secret fat guy. I'm like a wrestler from the 90s, generally. But on the pizza diet, I will
secret fat guy, big boss man. He
exactly. Or, one of those guys. So, over Christmas. So I got Dishonored 2. Mm-hmm. Good game, that. Good game.
Yeah, you didn't finish it though, did you?
Not finished. I don't have time for video games anymore. Well, not ones that I'm not working on.
I tried to get into Watch Dogs 2. After I came back to London, we still had a few days before we were doing any proper stuff, and I just kind of decided that I was like, I don't want to do anything that requires interaction. All I want to do right now is sit and watch cartoons. So I started watching Star Wars Rebels, which is really good.
Oh, I thought you were going to make the joke about Star Wars, the prequels there. As you were saying earlier, Jim, about them all being cartoons with some live action.
They are basically Pixar cartoons, except not anywhere near as good.
That's true. All right. Well, listen. What films did people catch up on over the Christmas New Year's period? I've got an amazing one, but you go first, Jim.
Right. I saw Fantastic Beasts for a second time because I took my kid, and then saw Rogue One for a second time because I took the same kid, actually.
Oh, right.
The cinema in Hartlepool had this amazing deal where it was a £5 ticket.
What?
And it's like, how?
Is it?
How's
Is
this?
it the 90s?
How's this even profitable? Like, it's. I mean, it obviously isn't, is it? So just flat rate. Every ticket's a £5. And it wasn't the right cinema for my loser pass because it wasn't the Cineworld. But I was like, all right, okay, we'll go and see all the films then. But yeah,
So you watched the 2 films twice.
yeah.
Good work.
But they're good. No, but one thing I did watch was Dark Horse, which was a documentary about the Welsh village that bred itself a racehorse and put it into the Grand National about 10 years ago.
Did it win?
It won the Welsh Grand National, and it actually did quite well considering it was just like a bunch of working class Welsh people that owned it.
Who went? We want a racehorse now.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah. No, literally. I mean, like somebody was.
Not the Arga car, just the.
I think it was shown at the Cannes. And
the Cannes.
That's a can.
Yeah.
It was shown at that Cannes.
Yeah, at that Cannes. No, I think it did have a limited sort of theatrical release. It's on Netflix at the moment.
Okay,
and it's
that.
really, really good. It's one of
Who's
those
in it?
one of those great.
Clint Eastwood in it.
Fucking Robert Downey Jr.'s in it as the horse.
Yeah.
It's one of those great cinematic documentaries. Like, it's beautifully shot, and it's got a great they found this great narrative with it, and forgive me, Mum, but it's really, really funny because it's Welsh people talking about stuff, and that's just automatically really funny. One of them doesn't have any teeth. So
only one.
Yeah. So I watched that, and another one was it Hunt for the Wilderpeople or something like that?
Yes, Hunt for the Wilderpeople.
That's a fucking cracking little film.
Yeah.
Cracking film set in New Zealand, and it's about a little kind of chubby kid who is a bit of a rogue, gets adopted, has an adventure with a sort of adoptive father, a very reluctant adoptive father. So basically the setup is that he enters this family. The mum, the adoptive mum, is has a great relationship with her. She's well up for it. Dad's not really bothered. And then something happens that forces the dad and the kid together, and they have this mad adventure. And it
Does she get iced?
Well, I'm not going to say.
Well, obviously, innit? Like,
well,
I mean, come on,
mate.
The way you described that there.
Not necessarily. She could just be in hospital, or she could have just gone to the shops,
Yeah.
and they had to fucking figure out how to work an oven. You don't know the plot of this film.
Gone to the big shop in the fucking sky, mate. Gone to the big Lidl.
But no, have you seen it, Dave?
No, I've not seen it.
Right, it's
I've heard good things.
It's a wonderful, it's a really fucking funny film. It's really good, and it starts off as a very small indie film, and by the end of it, it's like, oh my god, this film got really big. Like
So it's like the opposite of Where Was He?
yeah.
Which gets it's just dramatically,
it's just like,
in all senses, smaller.
It's one of these things, like, the stakes just kept getting bigger and bigger, and then all of a sudden you've got like a car chase with like fucking 100 vehicles involved.
So it's
You're
like
how did we get here? Fucking fantastic film if you've got access to it.
You know what, Jim? You sold me on that more than the ads and stuff.
Yeah.
They should have you just doing that on a podcast.
Yeah,
we are available.
I'm well good at describing stuff, but not talking about the bad bits. That should be in advertising.
Yeah. Well, handy, Dave. You went and saw that movie with Liam Neeson in. That's not an action movie, though, didn't you?
I did. Amongst the Coals.
Yeah.
Really good. People can't tell you from the look that you give me that. Amongst the Coals. A really good little fantasy film. Not kind of, I suppose it's a coming of age drama as well, but it's not the kind of overly soppy that you usually get. Like the little kid in it, Lewis McDougall, I think his name is, who plays Connor.
That's not a real fucking name.
Lewis McDougall.
That's well made up, mate.
Yeah.
That's like, no, you can't fucking join.
But he does some heavy lifting in that film, like dialogue wise, and really carries it. I think it's definitely worth a watch. I mean, a lot of people in there were like getting teary and stuff. It didn't grab me emotionally as much as it did other people, but it's certainly worth going to see.
Yeah, was there open weeping in the? There was. Oh, well, listen. Speaking of Liam Neeson, there,
Lewis McDougall and Pat McGroin, fucking members of Equity. Sorry, carry
on. Speaking of Liam Neeson. I was speaking not to Liam Neeson, but to a friend of mine who
Looks like Liam
who knew someone, I won't say exactly who it is, but who's older than he, who had just heard that Liam Neeson was in Silence by Martin Scorsese.
Oh, yes.
And just only knowing Liam Neeson from latter day action hero, just assumed that it was an action movie, and was like, I really want to go and see it. And this person was, I don't think it is an action movie. And of course, Silence is not in any way, shape, or form really an action movie. I don't
Not
think
quite Jesuits in
I don't think there's any heads getting shut indoors. But I mean, that speaks to how just how big Liam Neeson has got as an action star. Which really, if you were,
I mean, you should have gone with him and watched that film.
I mean, just literally sat there
just
going,
see how long
he turns up in a minute.
Like, shit's going to kick off any minute. It's really slow. But...
Well, yeah. But speaking of films starring good actors who have kind of gone a bit sideways into action stuff. So I watched The Equalizer the other day, the Denzel Washington, Antoine Fuqua interpretation of the old 80s Edward Woodward starring TV show. So yeah, it's like 2 hours long or something. It doesn't need to be 2 hours long.
I mean, 2 hours is not that weird for a feature film.
I know, but for this, the plot is man is wrong tangentially. It's someone he knows is wrong. So he spends the rest of the movie kicking people's fucking heads in, which is cool. But there's a big gap between the and then the I'm gonna fuck people up. And I don't know, Denzel is so good in anything that he kind of just, even if it's just a little bump, just elevates. Because you're always like, I really want to see Denzel shut people's heads indoors. I just want to see it. But it's not very good. I wouldn't, I can't believe that those two guys made Training Day, and then 14 years later they make that. But But you know what we should speak about? The most important movie of the Christmas and New Year period. The movie which was written, directed, lit, shot, and starring Sir David Mills. It's Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Yeah, all of that is definitely factual. I thought for a minute you were going to suggest Matt Lee's video of Jim Trinker, which I think is definitely the best video.
Yeah, that was great.
But so I saw Rogue One in Super Twatto Vision at the
IMAX.
No, well, not in terms of screen size, Twatto Vision, but I saw it at Leicester Square in the Big Odeon there. And
have they still got those disgusting leopard print seats?
No,
thank God.
Not upstairs where I was. I was in the Royal Circle thing, looking out. Obviously,
the Circle.
That's what it's called. You can.
Yeah.
But Rogue One, I'll say that I quite liked it. I think it's got one of the strongest endings of a film I've seen in a long time. That's difficult to quantify. I think with Rogue One, I wouldn't like to have reviewed it straight after coming out of it, because it ends on such a high that I think that obscured a lot of the breathless kind of, it's incredible. The last minute of it is incredible, and what goes before it is quite good in a lot of ways. But I thought that I thought the ending was quite good.
It's a sort of,
obviously, but I thought it bounced too much in its opening.
I liked it a lot.
Too many. It's like a dirty dozen Star Wars movie, but none of them are interesting.
I understood why he was doing that. I suppose it's to say that across this entire galaxy, the threat is coming and everywhere is feeling it. But it did feel like
I'd rather have 3 or 4 rather than more 7 or 8, and because the biggest sin for me in any movie is the bouncing. So you just turn up on a different planet. I can't remember the names of any of those fucking planets. Really?
Well, you don't really revisit them, do you?
It's just like, okay. And so you turn up for a little while. A lot of people really hated it though, didn't they? Like a lot of people didn't get into
it's because it's a Star Wars film. It always, you get both ends of this hyperbole of it's the best thing that anyone has ever made and it's untouchable, and also, it's shite. And it's neither of those things. It's well made. I thought it was better than The Force Awakens.
I thought it was miles better than The Force Awakens, to be honest.
There's a lot. I loved the opening with the beach and them coming across in the kind of matte black stormtroopers and him in the flowing white. Like, I thought that looked absolutely brilliant. And I thought the story's really good. The ending's great. I think probably because the studio, you know exactly what comes as soon as that film ends. A New Hope begins. So, they can't bend their arm into saying like, we can have another kind of spin-off where these characters, it's like, no. We know they're not in A New Hope.
If they just disappeared, I quite liked the it's not nihilistic in any way, the ending, because it actually means something to everyone.
Well, it means involved. A lot more that they had to do that.
Yeah, but I did like what happens to the lead and the co-lead. I liked what happened with Krennic. Vader was really good in one scene. There was towards the end, I was a bit worried that so kind of like spoilers if you've not seen it. I was worried that all we see of Vader was him in the shower essentially. And I said to the guy sitting next to me, if he doesn't turn up and start killing people, I'm going to go fucking mad. Because that's all anyone's actually wanted out of a Star Wars movie that's set before A New Hope and after he gets all fucked up. I think the end of Rogue One is what people anticipate the end of Revenge of the Sith would be more like. Him going on a bit of a rampage. But yeah, I like that there was no holds barred in how those characters got killed as well. One gets exploded horribly in a big box, basically. An errant grenade flies in and that's dead. I mean, if you think about what would have actually happened to the physiology of that person, you'd be scraping off the fucking walls. And, you know, the Death Star annihilates quite a few people, much like the ending of Deep Impact. Minus it is the end. That is the Tia Leone scene from Deep Impact with her and her dad. I liked it. I didn't think it was amazing. Like I say, I thought it bounced too much. And I think in a lot of ways you could kind of see that a lot of the cutting that happened, a lot of the stuff leaves some instances of it not unresolved, but character motivation and set pieces don't quite gel as well. Like some of them just seem a bit. So the attack that's meant to look like, you know, rebel insurgents in reality, or you know, in the Middle East or whatever, when they attack the Imperial troops and when they're in the tank on the planet where they meet Donnie Yen. I just thought, it's just a set piece for set pieces thing. Unless there was something to explain it a bit later on. I don't know. It just didn't quite fit together. But yeah.
Yeah, it does. It flits around too much to be sort of really coherent and really. It does take it does take a while to kind of settle into its groove. But you know, somebody pointed out. I can't remember who it was, but somebody pointed out that it's almost like the perfect film to bridge the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy, because it starts off a bit dog shit and gets fucking amazing by the end. It's like this perfect, because. It's nice to see a film set before A New Hope that has like acting in it and
and people
and editing and some sort of
any kind of emotion whatsoever.
Well, just any sort of basic grasp of how to put together a film.
Shut up.
Like, I mean, Rogue One and watching Star Wars Rebels, which is like a kids' cartoon, it's a good kids' cartoon. Brackets bad, but it's good. But I kind of went down a bit of a hole in the past few days, sort of obsessing over the prequel films. Not watching them, because fuck no. But sort of watching certain scenes and trying to... Because there's the consensus on those has shifted along amongst the sort of... The actual, like, the big fucking mad internet fans who think they own it. When, you know, obviously they're a minority and they're all fucking mad. But there's a real consensus shift with the prequels where a lot of people think that they were hard done by. And then I think... I started like...
Well, they think the prequels were hard done by.
The prequels were hard done by.
There's a lot of interesting themes and stuff in there, but they aren't brought to light in any kind of interesting way whatsoever.
I've always thought of the prequels as like, they're great backdrop, they're great kind of lore to draw from, and the broad strokes of them, the story they tell is... potentially very good, but the execution is like it's like watching a student film but with a budget of billions of dollars. It's fucking terrible. Like every fucking shot is too long. It's held too long. Like the editor was asleep. I don't know what they like, especially with Attack of the Clones. Like watching some scenes.
And also
from
the
that.
tech isn't there for a lot of stuff they're
really
trying
isn't.
to do then, and over
It's fucking shot on a 1080p camcorder as well, essentially. Like something that, I mean, right at the time in 2002, the camera they shot that on was fucking state of the art. But now it's like you might as well have shot that on a DSLR, because it's not. Like you're never going to be able to blow this up to 4K. So like by sort of pushing ahead with getting rid of film, you've actually fucked it for future proofing.
Well, because I mean the entire point of George Lucas's like ethos on this was to bring down the kind of, so when you have an actor and you're shooting on film, you tend to have maybe 10 minutes say on a roll, and then you've got to stop and change that, and if something, so say it's a 400-foot roll, if something runs at 210 feet, then obviously mathematically then you've got to change it then, so you're constantly, and he wanted to get rid of that and break down the barriers so that technology kind of liberated shooting, but then it's obviously had the opposite effect when you've then gone, okay, so this needs to be green screen, so now we need to get like 300 monitors here, DITs to download the footage, and all these banks and banks of people, and then it's actually created the opposite effect of what it is.
That works actually for him though, doesn't it? Because he's got, or had, that fucking empire up in San Francisco. And he owned those firms which did that, which then he could sell it on. Like I think a lot of the, you're absolutely right there, Dave. But I think a lot of the stuff about George Lucas being stupid, like, okay, so he's not an amazing film director. He's made some amazing films, but I don't think you can say he's an amazing film director. What he is an incredibly smart person.
Well, he saw where it was all going. It just kind of, I guess it was almost like an over-excitement of where it could head, and diving in, and what always these things fall apart on is an over-reliance on new technology rather than going, this is something else to add to the canon of filmmaking.
But also a weakness that comes from the fact that no one can challenge him. So over the Christmas period, I watched the from Puppets to Pixels, it's called, which is the episode 2 technology making of, and it runs for about 6 days, maybe because they didn't have to change any reels of film, and it's just shite. Like he's talking a lot of shit, and no one says anything. No one can. What are you going to do? Tell the emperor that he's wrong? Nah, like, and it's just, it's the same with the Wachowskis as well. Soon as you've got millions and millions or billions to play with, and someone says no, you go, well, that's my toy, so I'll crash this fucker. So yeah, those are the most instructive things about those. The other one, the beginning, the documentary about episode 1. Not seen the one for episode 3 yet, because there's a legitimate sadness, and now we're here. But I think that once you've got, because he has had control over everything, so there wasn't like someone could go. The closest you get was like Ben Burt, or was it John Knoll? Like, no, but even then they don't say no. They say, well. And there's these moments where George comes in and he's deciding just on his own which of these, so he's hiring people who are animators and people who make all these amazing creatures, and he's just having the final word. But that never, you've got to have someone who makes a decision. But he comes in and says, oh, I want this and that, I want this element transposed onto this body, this head on this body, and they just go, okay. And he's not Stanley Kubrick. He can't be like, action, fucking genius, just listen to what I'm saying. Because at this point, he's proved with episode 1 that he's fucked it. And also with episode 1, he hadn't directed a movie in nearly 20 years? Over, maybe? Yeah, over 20 years, right? Maybe he did some other shit, I don't know. But he hadn't directed a good movie since the original Star Wars.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just...
And the direction on the original Star Wars is
still isn't incredible.
It's not that great.
No, all the rest of those
it's a
things...
great film, but that, his direction is not like... that's not the stellar fucking part of it, is it?
No. We're going back to the technology side. The irony is now that actually, when you work on these big budget films, a lot of the time it would just be a lot quicker to shoot on a 35mm camera the way they have done for decades and decades before digital came in, and now it's slowly catching up. That it's getting more streamlined, and the cameras, to be honest, on Rogue One were brilliant. They were digital Arri Alexa 65mm.
Yeah,
which looks incredible. I watched it.
Was Rogue One not shot on film?
No,
was it? Oh wow. Okay.
Shit, there you go. The inside knowledge. So, Dave, you were there, and let's not break any NDAs, but one of the things that's been talked about a lot with Rogue One is the reshoots, some of the edits, specifically Tony Gilroy, who wrote some of the Bourne movies, and I think directed the latest one. Apparently, I think it was a Hollywood Reporter was saying that he was paid $5.5 million to do some editing work on the film and shoot some of the reshoots. It's an interesting one because 5.5 million is obviously quite a lot of money, but then if he's coming on board as a secondary director essentially to make it all fit together, then that would make sense. But Dave, that doesn't seem to be the case from your experience, does it?
Well, yeah, a lot of stuff was made, noise was made around the fact that there was reshoots, and I have never ever worked on a feature film that hasn't had reshoots. I don't think I know anyone. I've worked on films where we've done reshoots and we've shot 65% of what you see in the cinema in the reshoots. Like, it's an absolutely normal thing to have reshoots. And whenever I was there, Gareth was the director, and so I think there's a lot of noise about that.
Me and Gareth and I
Gaza
hanging out down the boozer.
So no, I think it's definitely a Gareth Edwards film.
Yeah. It's interesting as well that a lot of the first trailer, because the science or the art, a bit of both, of making trailers is really fascinating to me. Because speaking of Kubrick, he controlled everything. But now you've got houses that take the footage.
You've got teams of PR teams and stuff,
and do that, especially with a Disney picture, let alone a Star Wars Disney picture. But yeah, watching that first trailer back now, it's not unusual for trailers to feature alternate shots, cuts, whatever. But it is unusual for a lot of alternate plot points, scenes, dialogue, etc., to not make it, and quite a lot as well. I think the most jarring one is when Jin is on top of the antenna array at the end of Rogue One, and that TIE fighter pops up, which looks like a battle scene, but someone posited that was actually the Imperial pilot would help her down from there, maybe get away from Krennic.
But yeah, she's running towards it, right?
Yeah, and then go down, and then she would be seen running across the beach with the plans, because Dave, you said that you were there and you were on the beach in that scene, and then she was down there, because she does come back from down there, but not for anything, running across a beach to freedom. So, but there's a lot, and there seems to have been deleted or removed or excised one of the Darth Vader scenes where Krennic talks him through how powerful the Death Star is, and that seems to have been replaced with CGI Peter Cushing taking on, because he's trying to explain how powerful it is. Because it's like there's loads of middle management in Rogue One. Like, Krennic's just a frustrated middle manager is like, oh, because he's trying to prove that he can make it work, that it does work. It's essentially just like hardware engineering. He could be making an Xbox. He could be going to Bill and saying, oh, look, I fucked it, I'm sorry. Which I actually thought was really interesting, but that scene where he says about the power.
It was nice to see that side of the Empire, because we've always kind of imagined it as this sort of backstabby kind of bureaucracy, and there's obviously a lot of, it's basically the Tory party, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then to actually kind of see it play out, and to see that that Tarkin has manoeuvred. The Death Star wasn't Tarkin's baby; it was Krennic's, but Tarkin has manoeuvred Krennic away from it.
But I like all that, the politics in the future that's like that it is right now. And then reading at the minute about kind of ancient Rome, and it's like, oh, absolutely nothing has changed.
Nothing
in
has
terms
changed.
of political,
Nothing has changed.
Backstabbing.
Every period of history is a reskin of the last. Like, it's
should probably start reading history books and learning from it at some point.
Well, on that note, we'll get into some of the questions now. So, that's it. And speaking of CGI Tarkin, and now, unfortunately, CGI player Carrie Fisher, Marie Streeting tweeted, Marie Streeting, should dead actors appear in film long after they're dead? Obviously with Carrie Fisher, that was not the case. But so I think when we talk about the Cushing thing, there's a whole discussion that I read online about this. It's a really good point, is that people said, someone said always, that they'd taken their father or someone, and Peter Cushing was their favourite actor, and then after said it was good to see him back on the screen again, but it's not.
I mean, this has really split a lot of people.
Yeah, because he's being acted by someone else. It's animation. It's not. So, do you know what I mean? Like, it's. I think so. This started to get a bit of traction.
I kind of wonder if Peter Cushing would have got a kick out of the fact that it took about 200 people to approximate a performance of his, and it still wasn't as good.
Yeah, I think.
I think
used sparingly, it's quite a nice tool. Some people hated the Princess Leia maid to look young thing. I quite liked it. It was there for one line. Her last line on screen is hope, which is quite a nice thing as well, obviously.
I liked it. I thought it was a great way to.
But I think you don't want to head down the road of why don't we do a whole spin-off with a young Princess Leia?
It's just Star Wars Rebels, isn't it? I think
Peter Cushing and Carrie Fisher as a fucking crime solving duo. I don't think.
But there's also a question, and this is a big thing in movie making, that not a lot of time or effort or anything gets expended thinking about, but of accreditation. So George Lucas ran into big problems shooting The Empire Strikes Back because of Screen Actors Guild rules about credits going on the opening of movies. Of course, Star Wars just opens with, a big fanfare.
I'm generally against credits at the beginning of the film. I don't like it at all. I find it really boring.
Yeah, but those
unless they're kind of woven into the telling of the story. Steven Spielberg's Catch Me If You Can is a great title sequence because it kind of tells the story of the film with all the credits. But I hate sitting through a list of names at the beginning.
In the 30s and 40s, it was look who's in the movie. Yeah. That whole scrolling kind of thing. But Peter Cushing, that's not Peter Cushing. Someone played Peter Cushing. I can't remember what that guy's name is. I probably should. He's a major character in the new Star Wars movie about Death Star. I think there's a lot to be talked about. I think, Dave, you're right. You sparingly, when you see CGI Cushing looking out of the window at the Death Star, which is a scene I think you were present for, even though he wouldn't have been there. Seeing him reflected in the Star Destroyer, I think it is, or whatever, I don't know. Or no, he's on the Death Star, isn't he? So seeing him reflected in the little window or whatever, that's cool. But then
I think that is the way around it as well. It's
because
really nice
you're like,
that the reflection is... it works on a meta level as well. It's really nice.
Yeah, but then it's... When Princess Leia turns around, what it reminds me of? Limmy, the comedian, was like, it's really interesting, Uncanny Valley, that you just can't get over it. There's something in your brain, and obviously your mind is attuned to look at people's faces to discern what their emotional state is, whether they're angry or happy, and a lot of that is a lot
millions of years of evolution.
Yeah, exactly. Like masks scare people. Someone was talking about this in terms of The Shining and everything like that, and eyes wide shut because you can't discern what the face is saying. So you have like a big 404. Your brain can't process, and you start to panic about what it means. I think with CGI Tarkin and everything, with me, every time I see it, it just reminds me of that bit in the Terminator, the first one, when they talk about the old, was it T600 models, and Carl Reese goes, they had rubber skin and they were just too easily detected. And I always think that because they look so rubbery. They don't have, there's something in the eyes, I don't know quite what it is, but yeah, that's always just strikes in my mind. Like, you will always know when something isn't technically, maybe you won't, maybe in 20 years time it just will be, but you sparingly.
But even if the technology comes so good that you could do a scene and then we could make, God help us, a fake version of you that you can tell which one. I still don't think that you should be then overly reliant on that technology to bring back actors from the past. And let's do a film with Marlon Brando. That's a dangerous road to go down. I liked it in Star Wars. I liked the Leia thing. I mean, you could tell that it would. That she's made to look younger, but it worked fine. It was one shot.
In this particular case with Cushing, because I mean, as we've noted, it wasn't intentional with Carrie Fisher. She died after it had been done. But yeah, with the Cushing thing, it's very, very specific, very, very that's an iconic character, very
relevant to the plot,
relevant to the plot, and also a character that is, let's face it, in A New Hope isn't really seen. He's barely in any of it. Like, he's got a couple of bits at the start, and tells people off at the end, but that is not a Peter Cushing film, so we only get glimpses of Tarkin. And despite that, that character has stuck with people, and there's loads of expanded universe shit about him, and people obsess about Moff Tarkin. I mean, how much actual screen time did Peter Cushing have in Star Wars? What, a fucking 90 seconds? I can't, if you toss it all together. So there is a case to be made for this. The estate were give it their blessing, etc. But people talking about this being a sort of slippery slope down to, you know, an era where we're gonna like, yo, let's put Humphrey Bogart in a new film.
I don't think
that's not gonna happen.
No.
Oh, you know what? You say it won't happen.
Humphrey Bogart isn't a fucking box office draw anymore, and certainly fucking CGI Humphrey Bogart isn't. So it's not gonna happen.
At the same time, I think that there is, you know, we talk about a slippery slope. It used to be that. If you think about Bruce Lee, after Bruce Lee died, there was still tons of footage left over from certain other movies, and they recut that into new films, new, you know, quote, end quote, new films. Then I think this whole modern thing really kind of got started with the CGI stuff, with Sky Captain and The World of Tomorrow, one of the 895 million Jude Law movies of that particular year. Which were all terrible. Yeah. I Heart Huckabees was okay, but I feel that if I watched it again, it would be very, very mid 2000s. Yeah. But you know, Laurence Olivier was in that, and there was a big hoo-ha of, you know, he's back from the dead, and these questions were being asked then. But yeah, I mean, if you're a studio and there's a market out there, they'll fucking do it. They will do it.
Oh yeah, if the market was, I
but
think
it's prohibitively expensive at this point. You know.
Also, I think you've just got to ethically ask as well questions around, as an artist, would you want to? Because obviously you get to choose what you do to an extent as an actor or whatever. That people can bring you back from the dead to do work with you. I know there was a thing with Michael Jackson as well with music about releasing his unreleased songs. And the argument that, they weren't released, they didn't want you to fucking listen to them, otherwise he'd have released them. Yeah. And the same with novelists as well, who write a novel that they're not happy with and stick it in a safe, and then obviously if it's going to make a shit ton of money, they go, we'll stick it out there. It's like, because you know how you get over even just whatever you make that's small at the minute that we're making, how you want it to be right, and you don't want something out there that you're not happy with.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot more litigation surrounding this in a lot of the estate planning for people now. There's going to be a lot of specification regarding what I can, from beyond the grave, be involved with. There was you
can communicate via your Wi-Fi gravestones, so that's the future. There you go.
Anyway, listen, but there was an advert not so long ago about it was for Sure deodorant, and it had like famous, you know, film stars. So one was James Dean, you know, like a shot where he's got like one arm, but so you can see his armpit, or you can't. Not the pit itself, but like you can see under his arm, and like there were white marks, and the line was, you know, it'll keep you cool no matter how cool you think you are, something along those lines. And they had one for Steve McQueen, I think it was the Bullet poster, where he's kind of like got his hand on the door frame, and people were like, oh, you know, that's not right. But then that's the decision of the estate, basically, or whoever owns.
I think that's slightly different because you're kind of reappropriating cultural things.
Yeah, but to sell deodorant, I mean, I get it. I mean, those guys, you know. I understand that argument, but yeah. So Dave, so it must have been interesting to have done some scenes in Rogue One just while finishing talking about that, and then going to see the cinema and then seeing that how things.
It is amazing.
I mean, that happens
visual effects
lot,
films, green screen type films, when suddenly all the things that you're not quite sure how they're going to all piece together, and then you see. I mean, like, the camera truck was parked next to the top of the platform.
Oh, really?
For weeks, and because I never filmed on the actual set, I was like, what is that thing that looks like a fairy tale, merry-go-round, and then obviously you see it's up there on the top of this massive thing in the desert, and you get that a lot with the visual effects film. Sherlock Holmes 2: Game of Shadows. There was just a simple shot that I still don't really know why it wasn't done for real, closing a London street, just coming off a building and down, and you have Holmes and Watson walking towards you. And that shot must have had about 50 elements of it, because we did the crane shot, the thing coming down, Holmes and Watson walking towards us on a green screen, carriages going past on a green screen, bits of crowd that were then kind of copied and put about, and then the buildings put in. And I don't know, sometimes I feel like, is it not easier to shut off a street for a day, get a crane, shoot it once, and have it? I guess obviously it's more difficult when you're doing things that are based in a certain time period or in the past, or if you're going to the future, where it's obviously you want to be creating things that aren't. Some
composites really work that you wouldn't ever think of CG. Someone pointed out the other day on what's that? Is it Southpaw, the Jake Gyllenhaal boxing one? And that when he walks out for one of his fights, I think it's that one. He's walking out, and there's the crowd is it's either CGI or it's from two different. It's not CGI, but the way it's composited is two different takes. So they're like a light bulb goes off or a flash of light, like someone taking a kind of old style picture, or a light kind of swoops down over them as the technical work, and it just then the crowd is different if you look, but you never look because you just fall into thinking, because obviously these two shots have been put together with a little bit of CGI mixing or whatever, and it's really good, and there must be hundreds of those effect shots that are in many movies that you just don't think about. It's when it's so front and center, like a Tarkin.
Yeah. Well, have you seen Zodiac?
Yes.
I mean, like
the Fincher one.
Yeah. I mean, half the shots in that film, if not most, are like.
Is it every frame of painting that breaks down?
Yeah.
The how much of that is.
There was on the Blu-ray there were featurettes
on the Blu-ray
about it, but like. It's incredible. When you watch the film, I had no idea how much was that. I mean, didn't think about the fact it's obviously a period piece. San Francisco doesn't look like that anymore. But it didn't occur to me because it's so seamless, and you just wouldn't know. And then you watch like the featurette about the stuff. Well, look how much of that frame is actually real, and the rest of it.
A lot of it is to do with just having control, though, because I mean, certainly if you've got massive A-list actors. Or, I mean, Harry Potter, I think, did one day on location in pretty much the entire series, because obviously you're going to get absolutely mobbed if that was in most places that are real. So it's about having that control and being able to do things again and again.
There's a great bit in one of the Harry Potter films where he's at Surbiton Station, and Dumbledore turns up and cock blocks him.
What?
And every time I'm at Surbiton, I think about that.
Wow.
This is where
there you go. Started Rogue One, ended up with Harry Potter cock blocking.
Let's move on that.
This is where Dumbledore stopped him getting a shag. I mean, it literally happens.
On that note, we're going to move on to some of the other questions, you bunch of fucking arseholes. So Mick Boss asks, so we'll get this one out of the way just quickly, because it's not really related to any of the other questions. Trainspotting 2, will it be a disaster?
Yes.
I hate the marketing. T2. No.
Yeah, it's not T2.
Have you seen the trailers?
So don't do that.
Yeah.
T2.
I don't really watch trailers. I mean, I'm nervous about it.
It's the thing is, you've ruined it for me, Jim, and so like The Ring, I must now pass it on and ruin it for everyone else in order to feel better. Is that obviously a lot of the stars of it, Johnny Lee Miller, Ewan McGregor, Rob Carlyle, etc., have the other one less so, have gone on to big careers. And a lot of them haven't spent a lot of time in Scotland, it seems. And so there's this sick boy and Renton, I think, having a conversation. And you're like, that's like me doing a Scottish accent.
Yeah.
Because obviously Johnny Lee Miller is either doing a kind of faux British accent for Sherlock or whatever, or is out playing this, that, and the other. And you're like, that sounds incredibly forced. And obviously that's not their fault, but you think, where's that fucking accent gone, boys?
I mean, have you heard Ewan McGregor speak these days? He sounds like he sounds very Scottish. Yeah, he sounds like he grew up in a fucking castle in Scotland. Like Ewan McGregor sounds. I mean, I think Ewan McGregor is a wonderful bloke, actually, as it happens. I don't rate a lot of the stuff he's been in, but I think he's great. As a human being, so I'd never say anything disparaging about him, but he sounds like a right sort of moneyed tosser, and that's
he sounds
not
a little
the
bit.
Content of what he says, but just the speech.
I'm not saying that he is. I'm not saying that all moneyed Scottish tossers sound the same, but he does sound very much like. And Dave, obviously you were there. A guy that we went to school with who was moneyed, like he played croquet at school, basically. A guy who shares my first name and the last name of one of our other friends. So if people are listening, I don't want him to be like, that's fucking me. But you know who you are. You know who you are, motherfucker. No, he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. But
going back to Ewan McGregor and Star Wars, we were doing a film, Someone Fishing in the Yemen in Scotland, with this really like steep bank of hills with Ewan McGregor coming up, and he slipped, and you just heard one of the electricians go, "Use the force."
Did he go fucking mad, or did he do a lot? Did he go, fine?
Well, I mean, I'd imagine he fucking hates that Star Wars chat. Every time it's brought up in an interview, he's just like... I went down a little bit of a YouTube hole over the weekend, finding Ewan McGregor interviews where he has to mask his contempt for the prequels, because he fucking hated those films. You can tell he hated those films. To the point where there was one interview I saw where he claims to not understand why everyone is so interested in Star Wars when they talk to him. It's like, you know, as far as I'm concerned, they were just films I was in and then I moved on. I'm like, you were in Star Wars, motherfucker. If they were good Star Wars films, there's no fucking way on earth you'd be saying something. You know, like...
I mean, you can see how kind of excited he is in the episode 1 making of. Like, he even says at one point, like, they asked me to do if I wanted to do Star Wars, and I said, fuck yes. So, I mean, at that point, you're getting approached, and it's the greatest fucking opportunity in history. You're just a Scottish bloke.
Are you going to feel like that when you're getting one every 18 months?
Well, I mean, I just meant from like an actor's thing. I don't think you're... No. Because the thing about the thing about episode 1 was that it had been 16 years. And Star Wars has hit a bit of a lull.
There's more time has passed between now and Phantom Menace than there had passed between Phantom Menace and Jedi.
Getting there, yeah.
No, it is more.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
No, it is. Actually, yeah, you're right. Fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So.
Because it's, shit. Yeah, that's those thought experiments are bad when you when you start realising that, you know, I'm not even going to get into one of them.
That you've been alive for longer than you thought?
I've been alive for 32 years, and let me tell you, it's been fucking awful. Yeah. Apart from all those Man United victories.
All those pizzas.
All those years ago.
What did I reckon I was on pizza-wise? I'd eaten more than 1,000 pizzas. I'd worked that out.
You ate more than 1,000 pizzas when we were at uni.
But I reckon I'm cracking. Pizza diet, man.
And that's like 3,000 calories each, like for good pizzas, right?
Bossing it, mate.
I read a statistic that the average human body contains about 150,000 calories.
Really?
So if you were going to eat one, you'd get...
Maybe he's like a pro athlete in his spare time, you know, and they have to smash in like tens of thousands of calories because they work so hard.
Look, guys, I'm just...
So when you think about it, you know, we eat about 2,000 calories a day. It should be a bit of a drop in the ocean of calories that is the human body. So
that's... Right.
Listen.
Okay, fine. All right, listen, we're moving on now. Moving on.
The point is, though, how the fuck do you eat a big pizza every day?
That's because I'm fucking brilliant. Listen, what's going to happen is, okay, so I think that...
You're going to die.
Yeah, basically.
The doctor's going to look at you and go, his heart was full of pizza. It just stopped.
You know, basically.
Your veins are full of like actual string
good
mozzarella.
Genetics, you know. But I reckon that...
You're actually Scottish, so calm down that.
Like Scottish blade, isn't it? All the strengths and the weaknesses. I can go out in the day.
Yeah, but you never do. I've never seen you in the daylight.
I can go out in the day and I'm also capable of eating salad.
Yeah. But I reckon 14 and I'm out. It's going to be great. So, Dr. Fist, on that note.
Dr. Fist.
Wow. Best Bond actor film. There's been a bit of chat. Was a bit of ongoing rumbling chat about who's going to, you know, what's happening. Has Daniel Craig taken 50 million for 2 more movies?
Is it 2 more they offering?
Or was it 1 more for 50 million? Or there was a bit of a back end deal going on, I think. But anyway, you know what? I think I'd say that the Bond is one of those series. We won't go on too long about this, which breaks down the best and favourite delineation. So I love Pierce Brosnan as Bond.
So do I, but he's not in many good Bond films.
But the Bond movies are are pretty much all shy, apart from GoldenEye. They have some of them have good elements, but by the end it's just crap.
Plus, when you say GoldenEye, you think game.
Yeah, Dalton is amazing, but then he only has 2 films, and you know, one of them's kind of a weird revenge thriller, which was pretty much the blueprint of the later ones. But I don't think people were ready. They were coming off the back of Roger Moore, fucking wearing flares and dressing up as a clown, chasing people as a, you know, it wasn't really the thing. Sean Connery's amazing, absolutely incredible. But each of them, I think that between those 3, for me, they have different elements of the same character.
And also, he can keep his accent in that. He doesn't have to put on a fake.
Yeah. Oh, you're the King of England.
Russian.
Scottish accent. Yeah. You're a Russian submarine commander. Scottish accent. I'm just like, people don't believe they don't think I'm a Russian sub commander. They know I'm Sean Connery. So get fucked. Yeah,
he's just he's a Scottish equivalent of Arnold Schwarzenegger, isn't he?
Exactly. Just this is my voice. Deal with it.
Yeah, don't give a fuck.
Deal with it. So Gavster 93, Dr. Mark Sloan. Dave, did you film that Vader scene in Rogue One?
Very short answer to that. That is no.
Well, there you go.
Wait a minute. Which scenes you mean though?
That scene. The one at the very end.
Right, okay.
Darth Vader goes...
Yeah,
right.
I'm sorry, because it doesn't matter how you say the word that.
No, people know.
If
you talk about Rogue One...
There are multiple Darth Vader scenes in that film.
There are two.
So, yeah.
Yes.
There
are two.
Yeah.
And only
so
one...
just fucking specify.
There are two, and one of them's him in the fucking bath.
One
of them's in the space bath. He has to get out of it to have a meeting.
Specify space bath or,
or Planet
It's
Terror.
called a Bacta tank. Anyway. Space bath.
Sorry, that's ruined it for you.
That's ruined it for me now.
Yeah,
it's got a sequence in which Darth Vader has to get out of the space bath to meet the man.
To go and have a meeting with the middle manager on a project.
To shout at the man. To shout at a builder.
Is Rogue One a romantic comedy?
to shout at the fucking one of the Geordie workers. Listen, you cunt.
There you go. That's that ruined. 28 Interludes asks, in what mindset? And this is a really good question, because I think we talked about a lot of about Star Wars prequels and the mindsets of people that go in and they kind of have revisionism. And watching movies, you always come in with either the advertising or usually with the advertisements or whatever in your mind. So there's a certain thing you think you're going to get. But this question, in what mindset / how do I watch Citizen Kane? Now, this is a really fucking good question because Citizen Kane, like The Shining, which we'll talk about in a bit, like The Godfather, like Jaws, like anything that is loved, has been aped, imitated, copied, piss taken so long that the danger is that you will go into it thinking of the thing like, the Simpsons episode of where Mr. Burns loses the bear. That's from Citizen Kane, and this whole The Godfather has exactly the same thing because that Brando performance has been mimicked in the music. I'd say that Citizen Kane, just sit down and just fucking watch it, because I think what you'll be surprised at if you've not seen it is how unbelievably technically adept it is. How much for a film made in 1942 or something, the modern elements of it, some of the camera work and some of the vision that Wells has. You often think about black and white movies or old movies from the period as being this kind of locked off, very talky, shot reverse, maybe a bit of camera movement, but it's well the reason why it's so, not at the time, people fucking hated it, but why it became so revered was because it was so ahead of almost anything that was around it.
Yeah, and I remember most people reviewing this and putting this as their number one film. They've obviously film critics who have an appreciation of film history and what the decades that came before it and how this changed it and influenced things that come after it. But forget all of that. It's still, as a standalone, if you don't know all that, just watch it. It's just a well-written, well-directed, well-acted
the script's
film.
a load of old shit, don't it, Dave, apparently? It's like 400,000 pages long.
Oh, God, I've got the script, yeah. It's like, there's about an 18-hour film in there.
But one of the things that I think it's actually difficult to not be surprised by, even knowing that how technically good it is, if you consider when it was made and what they had, dig out the floor, to get these shots and stuff with the use of depth of field and focusing, and there's just some great tricks in there. The peacock stuff, transitions.
Yes,
there's
actually a backdrop of King Kong in it as well.
Yeah, and the mirror. Where
the mirror shot's still one of my favourite shots. Incredible.
Is so good. I think that it gets a bit tiring as well, speaking of perception, when people always bang on about this older movie. Casablanca, I think, as well, suffers from this, is that because you associate it with your old fucking dad, your dad sitting there on, a bank holiday or whatever, and it's on. Same with some of the older Bond movies. And you've kind of absorbed a lot of what the movie is anyway, just by snippets or press cuttings or people just fucking banging on about it. So it's old, but it's surprisingly modern, which is why people love it. Like, it seems, as an artifact, it was just so far ahead. You're like, wow. shit.
Well, this leads kind of onto a question that two of my good friends have kind of been talking about recently. I don't know if you know Martin Scorsese.
Yeah.
I was on a chat with him over Christmas, and Bret Easton Ellis, who I believe you know as well. I mean, it might have been via the form of interviews and podcasts as opposed to face to face. But Bret Easton Ellis kind of says this a lot on his podcast when he's interviewing actors and stuff, that he feels that like cinema is gone, and that's kind of a thing I got from an interview with Martin Scorsese recently as well. And I suppose they're talking about that type of cinema that you just listed there, or your Lawrences of Arabia's, or your John Cassavetes films. I mean, do you think that's true?
Well, it depends what your definition of cinema is. Martin Scorsese, for example, has a very definite... I read in his view, may not have been the same one, but the theme was the same, that he thinks it's all past and by now. And I think when those guys are speaking, like Brayson speaks a lot about the American Empire, and about the kind of, how the American century has ended, and America doesn't have a fucking clue what's going on anymore, and it's like this fading empire. So I think there's a lot of nostalgia at play. There are still great movies, but there are
definitely great movies. I think it's the way that you consume them maybe has changed. I think that he's talking about the idea of, like, if you were to go to the cinema now and seeing those, small intimate stories, that I guess we are heading more towards kind of like the theme part, if we're not already there, to be honest. The big tent pictures.
Well, there's no 60 million movies, or maybe there's like there's 10 to 30, and then 100 to 250, and Lucas actually talked to us. Spielberg talked about that years and years ago, because they see the curve. They supplanted a lot of the old guard when they were in New Hollywood days. They got rid of all the people making the Dr. Doolittles and all these fucking ridiculous, over-the-top, money-losing interpretations of Dr. Zhivago or whatever. So they know it. You
had the French New Wave influencing the American cinema of the late 60s into the 70s. But do you see another birth of that coming up? Because it feels like the way that we consume media has changed, and there's so many more. I mean, obviously, video games that we talk about a lot can bring something to the table there as well, and then you've got ever-expanding TVs and Netflix.
It's one of those things for me where storytelling may have changed, but I don't know. Cinema. What is a cinema?
Well, I think that's where it comes down to more.
Cinema
is the
versus
semantics of
filmmaking,
that.
right? Or storytelling.
Yeah, because storytelling still is just as vibrant as it's ever been, as far as I'm concerned. You now can tell it on more mediums in more ways, and and it's more democratic.
Vine was amazing. How many amazing stories told in a Vine, 6 seconds.
But also just the way that technology has become a lot more affordable, so you can if you wanted to, and people have gone out, shoot a piece of film on your iPhone and tell a story and upload it to YouTube or whatever, and go straight to an audience, which obviously you couldn't do when you had to rely on massive film cameras that you couldn't move and get in the stock and developing
distributors.
But then it's theaters. I guess whether cinema has changed in the actual kind of going to watch those type of films.
Maybe
in the
they're
dark
still
for
there,
2 hours, but
I think that when you think about cinema, when I hear cinema, my brain runs from the birth of it to about 1979, and then the rest of it is more Hollywood for me. If you get what I mean, is more, But I don't know. I think that's a question that could just run and run forever and ever, and there's no time. So now we're on to the next question. Where is it? Come on, brain. Which one am I going to go for? All right, Del Boy Trek. I don't even believe that these are the real names. I think
we've had Fistico and
I think you know what? If these aren't your real name, I'm really sorry. Right? It's been very busy. Right, here's a question that's very close to my heart. Does Steve rate Broken Arrow? Motherfucker, yes. So you remember when John Travolta had that low patch where he was in some movies that you've never heard of, like Perfect, I think it's called, and a lot of stuff in
Pitch Perfect.
Shut the fuck up. In the 80s and that, and you're like, he was in some films, and some of them were quite big films, but John Travolta's star seemed to be fading, especially in the kind of early 90s, and then he did Pulp Fiction, and suddenly John Travolta's back. He was he did Face Off, he did Broken Arrow, he did Michael, he did Phenomenon, he did all these movies, and suddenly, and then he went and did Battlefield Earth and fucking ruined it all again. It's like he was out on parole. It was like one last chance. He's doing so well. Oh no, he's making a Scientology movie. But he had movies that were big hits, and people realised they wanted to see John Travolta again. And I think the Broken Arrow is when he realised that he could just, like, people love John Travolta because he's weird, because he has a quirky look. You know, he was handsome, and he's got a really over the top, almost jittery kind of acting style. And why shouldn't he just chew the scenery? I mean, as Vic Deakins in Broken Arrow, like, his plan is to troll the government. Like, he sends them videos of him saying he's going to blow up the West Coast and then makes a joke about it. And the whole thing about him, I mean, he kills himself by a nuclear weapon at the end, not by exploding, but by getting hit by it after it's propelled towards him by... I mean, that's how he decides he's going to die, by getting hit by the tip of a nuclear weapon. I mean, great. You know, he's obsessed with them. It's stupid. Christian Slater is in it, so you know it's stupid. But I love it because he has loads of good names, loads of good lines. The name for Ain't It Cool News came out of that movie. Ain't It Cool? And John Travolta sells the whole experience because he's just almost like latching onto the fact that he's just a weird dude. And like, he's got a great and amazingly expressive face. You know, all the features seem slightly too large for what houses them, but somehow it's all working. I don't know. I love the movie mainly because you can put it on in any state of mind and just have a good time with it. Yeah,
right,
I mean, it's stupid. It's all balls. Like, it's unbelievably stupid. But you know, it's great. And Delroy Lindo turns up for no reason at all, wearing a Rolex, and then gets fucking killed. Spoiler alert. So yeah, that's a good movie. Now listen, shush. Right, last question. And this is one that we will talk about maybe in depth. At MH Reynolds, what movie, TV, or game boiled your piss the most?
What?
Ever?
Just ever?
I think that's it.
What TV, movie, or game boiled your piss the most ever? Well, I mean, the one that comes... We've already talked about it. But I think Attack of the Clones is the most offensively bad production in the history of cinema. I think it takes the piss out of the audience. I think it insults the intelligence of anyone unfortunate enough to watch it, by pretending to be a product that even deserves to be watched. I think it is actually offensively awful.
I mean, it is the only thing I watched in the cinema and wanted to leave, but my friend, rather like you, was such a huge Star Wars fan that I thought if I squeezed past him to leave, he may never speak to me again. Yeah. And just that moment when you got to the lobby and like crestfallen, he was like, it was awful, wasn't it? I was like, yes, pal, it was. Let's go get a beer. It really was.
I never even saw Attack of the Clones in the cinema because by that point I was like, this is getting fucking stupid now. And
I saw it in the cinema and I came out of it and I said to the person I was with, that's one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You know, when you're itching for it to be over and you're like, oh God, it's 35 minutes in, there's loads left.
The Attack of the Clones is the middle of the thing. What really all the dramatic weight should be kind of getting towards actually involving the audience. That
fucking battle, the Geonosis battle, the people who even fans of that film who acknowledge that this is the thing about those films. Everyone acknowledges that they're shite, but there's always some smart arse who's like, oh, well, but what about the lightsaber battles? They're fucking shite. Oh, but what about Yoda with a lightsaber? That's fucking shite. Like, what about fucking Anakin versus Obi-Wan Kenobi? That's fucking terrible and long and boring, and it has no stakes, and get fucked. Like, there's nothing, there is no redeemable element of any of those fucking films. They're all terrible. Phantom Menace happens to be the best one because it has acting in it, and the other two don't.
Phantom Menace is nowhere near the best of those.
There is no acting.
The third one's the best one.
The third one. But
only because that's like 3 out of 10 and the others are like 2 and 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
But like,
the opening of the third one's good. I quite like that.
Attack of the Clones literally has no acting. It has actors reading lines. It has no acting.
Yeah, and how did they get? It's a spectacular feat of direction to take someone as talented as Natalie Portman and make her look fucking terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have bad films with good actors in them where their performance may just... But even Michael Caine, for example, in Jaws: The Revenge, right, which is just abysmal and unfinished.
It was on the other night.
Yeah. Even then, you're like, it's Michael Caine. And Michael Caine
Mate,
I'm not saying he's great in it, but
No.
I'm just saying you're like, that's Michael Caine.
But
I
it's just
told you
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine, when someone was like, so why did you do it? That stupid film. He's like, I've never seen it, but I've seen the house he's bought, and it's lovely.
Yeah, it's fucking Michael Caine, brilliant. But he turns up, be like, it's Michael Caine, but Natalie Portman is just lumbered with this. At least Michael Caine had an environment and other people who were trying to act despite what was happening. Natalie Portman was digitally composited out of most of her performance by a man who just completely lost his mind at this point.
Yeah, no, he had lost his mind. I think he'd just forgotten what a film is. Like, I don't know. I don't understand the cognitive breakdown that happened that led to Attack of the Clones. A film that cost a lot of fucking money. Like, I don't understand how it happened.
That's no barometer for success or talent.
But before, you would have a department or a studio, for example. So even with people who have a lot of power, so like a Martin Scorsese, the studio is probably happy for him to do what he wants. But
he had to fight to get the funding for Silence, and this is a man who's won how many Academy Awards and is one of the most respected.
Same as 365 Mafia.
Oh, sorry, yeah, of course. Yes.
Been nominated for...
nominated, sorry, yeah.
That, was it Jon Stewart at the Oscars that year?
That was brilliant.
365 Mafia win Best
365 Mafia 1, Martin Scorsese 0.
Yeah, even then, in this book, Powerhouse, about creative artists agency, one of the guys in that had his family firm, which is $1 billion thing, had taken over a film studio, and this guy was responsible for overseeing this film division. And even then, for Casino, Martin Scorsese showed it to this guy, and he was like, it's 40 minutes too long. And so this guy took a meeting with CAA or someone at CAA. They said, how's running the studio or being part of it? And he's like, yeah, I've got this new Martin Scorsese picture, it's 40 minutes too long. And the guy went, you don't tell Martin Scorsese this is going to cut the movie. So that's not the best way to start your relationship with Hollywood. It's like, people will see the movie, just let him do it. But cut some of it. At least you've got some oversight. You've got someone to answer to, even if it's just James Cameron, for example, answers pretty much to no one, but he still has to at least physically do the answering, even if he doesn't mean it or won't do it. Titanic, very famously, just been like, I'm not making these cuts. Movie's $100 million over budget. Doesn't matter. Not cutting it. Get the fuck out of my office. Because if you sack me now, then it's all over. But if we keep me, then we still got a chance. Great. Fuck you.
You've got to admire the
and then it came out and made billions and billions of
$1 billion. Yeah.
So it was fine. Now listen, right, we're going to wrap that up now because we are moving on to something very cool indeed, which is the first installment of Not the Director's Commentary, where we're going to sit down and watch the original Alien film and have a big old chat about it. So look out for that one. I know we said we'd do it before, but then we had to do our jobs. We actually let our jobs get in the way of us having fun.
Doing the stuff we want to do.
Can you believe that?
Let's not let that happen in 2017.
How is it going to work for people? Just explain what people are going to need to do.
They should already own the 1979 version of Alien, because if they don't, they really need to sort their life out.
Yeah, this is theatrical.
The theatrical release, not
cut,
the director's cut.
We're using just the Blu-ray from the anthology that came out.
Yeah, you can get the actual whole anthology on DVD for about £5 now.
Yeah.
You can order it on eBay for probably about 90p, or you can
Postage
download it from Amazon and stuff like that. Which I accidentally hit the buy button the other day, even though I own it probably 15 times in various formats.
You own it
I was
again,
like, oh shit! Oh, it didn't even ask me to confirm; it just did it.
Someone at Fox is like, it doesn't actually. I went to watch Room 237, the documentary about The Shining again. So we've gone down a bit of a Shining hole, which we might actually do something on in the future, but. Yeah, and it doesn't have a confirm, it just says buy, and usually you have a confirmation of like payment or destructive action saying, did your kid press this by accident? Just went...
God, can you imagine if they got hold of your PlayStation and going through the Amazons? You better check your bill trinket if they're on your PS4.
But we've gone a bit
Minecraft skins.
Off topic there. So
40 grand's worth of Minecraft skins.
So, Jim, you're the technical man. You tell them how that's going to be done.
Right. Well, I mean,
not buying stuff on Amazon. I'm sure that people can work that. In terms of what it is, I'm sure that the concept isn't new. We're just going to sit down and start talking a load of old shit about the movie, about the time, about the director, about the stars, about Alien in our
I
own
think
way.
we need to decide on the sync up
Well, it should be the 20th Century Fox logo at the beginning.
Yeah.
All this will be explained. Jim, we're not
we'll
making
explain.
the decisions now.
No,
You're
no,
making
no,
it
no,
sound
I
like
know.
we're just bloody half-arsing it.
No, I know, but no, just make sure people know what it is and how they can enjoy it. We'll be putting it on the podcast feed though as well as YouTube.
Yes, you can listen to it as a podcast if you want, although it's designed for you to press play basically at the same time as us, and we'll sync it up with the 20th Century Fox logo, and then we'll chat over it.
There you go. So that is going to be coming. We're about to record that right this very instant. So we better fuck off. But, listen, get us followed and subscribed to Jim Burns Dave and all your favourite little things like Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and all that shit. Because you'll be able to see all the cool stuff that's coming. And let me tell you, kids, this week, something very cool is coming. I can't say what it is, but you're going to fucking love it. All right? And it's not anything we've talked about on here. All right?
Fact.
Bye.
Done.